Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys awesome interviews. And today it is an honor and a huge privilege to have the former vocalist of Queensrÿche, and plus he is the vocalist of Operation Mindcrime for many, many years, Mr. Geoff Tate. They have a third album that's out right now. This is part of their trilogy. It's called A New Reality. It's out December 3rd on Frontiers Music, SRL. And if you have not got to pick up the past two albums, The Key and plus Resurrection, this is pretty cool. This is a concept album, and H has gone on a little trip here, and there's a lot of story behind this. So, Geoff, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Good talking with you.
Yeah, glad to have you on here, man. I've been a huge fan of yours for a very, very long time, and I've loved all of your work. And I just think it's great what you've accomplished, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is my 18th album. I can't believe it. It's been a long road.
Yeah. Wow, 18 albums. I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah. 18 albums and I think 226 songs.
Wow. But they're all good, though.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't realize that my catalog had been, gotten to that point, and somebody pointed it out the other day, and I went back and looked. Yeah, sure enough, a lot of records. Yeah,
and I'm going to say this right now, folks, for all you young musicians that are out there, this is something that comes along, over a long period of time. And now bands today, you're very lucky even to see 3 albums be put out. So
yeah, well, it is really difficult to be in a band and work in a creative environment, for a long period of time with the same people. It's really challenging, and it doesn't happen, easy. So it's surprising if a band can make it 5 years,
And nowadays, Geoff, I've talked to a lot of bands that have successful albums out, but they've got a daytime job too to go along with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the new reality, that we live in. It's the record companies and the record industry in general has just been decimated, by the illegal downloading, and it just took all the money out of the economy of records. It's like if everybody just went to the supermarket and loaded up their basket, with food and walked out without paying, you wouldn't have supermarkets.
Sure, right?
Because they have to make a profit in order to stay afloat, and pay their employees and all that stuff and rent the space. So the same thing happened with the record industry, which is too bad. But things are changing now, and a new system is being implemented and put in place, and it's probably going to take years for it to get to the point where it was, in the 80s and the 90s. But hopefully the next generation of artists will benefit from that.
Geoff, what's impressed you or excited you the most about making these 3 concept albums, The Key, Resurrection, and now the new one that's going to be released, A New Reality? What's impressed or excited you the most about it?
Oh, everything. Well, I'd always wanted to, people that aren't familiar with what I've done or my work, I really enjoy making story albums. Songs to me are stories, and I like to sort of weave those stories into a big story. And I had an idea for a story that I could tell over the course of 3 albums, sort of like telling a stage play in 3 acts, where the act is the album, So The New Reality is the last album of the trilogy. And I loved making these records because I wrote them a lot with collaborating with different writers, and I also recorded them with the collaboration of a number of different musicians. I think there's like 17 different musicians that play on these records. And we recorded them all at the same time, and then the record company's been releasing them, over the last few years, one each year. But the collaboration was really, really important to me, especially after working with the same people in the same band for 30 plus years when I was in Queensrÿche. It was really refreshing for me to work with different people, and I really enjoyed that. I worked with such talented, wonderful musicians who really gave my music fantastic interpretation. So I'm just really pleased with the whole project. It's been great.
Could we see H come back in another concept album trilogy, possibly, maybe?
I suppose that's a possibility, but at this moment, I have no plans. No.
Yeah.
H is going on a sabbatical, sort of reevaluate his life and figure out how the heck he got to where he got to.
Yeah, he's going on vacation to the Bahamas for a while.
Sounds like a good idea.
I always like seeing artists go outside their box, their comfort zone. You know, I know your music's like, well, I'm just going to write this story or just a song without telling a story. But I like it when, you yourself take and go outside that box. I think that's cool. And I think a lot of bands forget that, man. They're afraid to go outside that box.
Yeah. A lot of times it's the inability of the artists themselves to actually stretch out. They do what they do, and that's what they do, and they do it well and great. A lot of times it's that. A lot of times it's, massive pressure from their fan base and the artists feeling like, well, I can't really go outside my box that I've created for myself because people won't accept me. And I'll be a failure and I'll lose my financial backing and, everything will fall apart. So there's fear of change, So, yeah, you have to be fearless or, do what you do and be comfortable with that,
Yep.
I like to, adventure outside of what I've done, and I have a hard time repeating myself. So it's just kind of my nature. So this approach kind of works for me.
Now, you and Kelly Gray produced this album. How was work with him? And did he do the last two also, Geoff?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, Kelly's done quite a few records with me over the years. We started working together, writing music together in 1979.
Oh, wow.
And we've been off and on over the years in different projects working together. He was in Queensrÿche for a while playing guitar, and then he went to producing several Queensrÿche albums. And then in my solo work, he's worked with me on writing and in the production end too. So yeah, we've had a partnership for many, many years working together, and I love working with Kelly. He's like a MacGyver kind of character. He can take a bit of duct tape and a drumstick and, a ratchet or a hacksaw and, make a guitar out of it. He's one of those guys. If there's a problem, he's going to solve it no matter what, And he's just a very creative individual too, and just eccentric. One of the most eccentric characters I've ever known.
Any songs off the new album that stand out more to you than any as of right now, possibly? I mean, I know these are like your favorite kids and everything like that, but I mean, can you pick anything off of it, possibly?
Well, on the new album, there's quite a few songs that I'm very proud of and very invested in, meaning that they were tracks that I spent a long time writing or putting together. Mm-hmm. There's a song called The Fear, which I'm quite into. There's a song called, now I can't remember the name of it. It's embarrassing. Quite embarrassing, actually. I can't remember the name of it now. Darn it. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I'll go with the Fear. I quite like that one a lot.
Now, you've been doing this for many years, but do you do anything differently during the writing and recording process to help you keep your mind open and fresh to not let the music get stale? Do you do anything differently?
I have kind of an unusual way of working. I approach music writing like one would approach a job. I get up every day and I go to work, and I work up until lunchtime, and I take about an hour and a half off for lunch, and then I go back to work till dinner, and then after dinner, I don't work anymore. I'm done for the day. Mm-hmm. And that really works for me. I work, 5 days a week. And I learned long ago that a lot of people suffer from what's called writer's block, where they'll just sit and look at the blank screen or the blank page, and nothing happens for days and days and days. And to combat that, what I started doing was every day when I was working, I would leave something unfinished on purpose. So that way I knew where I was going to start the next day, and even if I already, had the finished part, I would not finish it. I would leave it blank or leave that space there. And, so that I knew where I was starting, because it's the thought of not knowing what to do which creates this feeling of the writer's block happening. So that technique has just saved me over the years and made me very productive. And I highly recommend it for writers and creative people who are struggling.
Before I was in a band in high school, and we'd write songs, and I'd write songs, and I got a kick out of myself because I'd go back and reread it and be like, well, this paragraph don't work. And I'm you are your world's worst critic. You know what I mean? And I'm putting everything here and there and mixing everything, and finally I said, fuck it. I'm just going to leave it be. It'll work itself out.
Well, that is kind of the way you have to look at things.
Yeah.
You know, I think years ago I would get really self-conscious about when I first started out, I'd get really self-conscious about what I wrote. And then when people started listening to it and liking what it was, it even became worse. I felt, oh my God, now I have all these expectations of what I'm doing here. And also I'd approach writing like, I knew exactly what I was saying. But, sometimes when you write what you think you're writing and other people read it, they're going, oh, I didn't know what that was about.
Yeah.
I thought it was about this. They interpret it differently, which to me became such a puzzlement because I thought I was being very concrete in my statements and in my direction. I thought it was very evident what I was talking about with my writing. And that threw me into a whole dizzy spell because, well, nobody's understanding what I'm saying here, So I finally came to terms with that and realized that everybody hears things different and they interpret things differently. And I'm okay with that,
Still to this day, I hear people say you're one of the best vocalists and frontmen of metal music, rock music to this day. Geoff, how's that make you feel, man?
Well, it's very flattering to, have, words like best attached to you.
Yeah.
It's humbling, I guess what I do is I just kind of do what it feels right to me and what the song needs, and I try to get that idea across in the live performance of, what I do is I try to paint the picture of what the music is saying or what the song is about. And last year I performed a real interesting tour. I played acoustically, and it was really different for me because I'd never done anything like that before. And it changed the way I perform because before I was very almost separate from the audience, kind of in my own world, which I still am to a point. But acoustically, when you're playing, it's quiet, so you can actually hear people talking.
Yeah.
So I started like eavesdropping on their conversations, while the music's going on or in between songs, and that started me like having conversations with the audience, and the audience members, and that sort of led to some sort of, I don't know, impromptu rants or comedy sketches and, observations. And it eventually came to, people coming up on stage and me having a conversation with them in front of the microphone. I mean, just it broke down that wall between the audience and performer to a point that I never expected, and it's really changed things for me a lot, and I really enjoyed it.
What do you hope fans take away from this new album or these trilogy albums or just your music in general when they start to listen to it?
Well, I hope that they would relate to it. I hope that it moves them in some way. I think it's impossible for one to expect that what they do is going to affect everyone. I think that I feel fortunate when somebody says, oh, I love that song. That song meant a lot to me. I hear stories from people all the time, and I love to hear stories from people about how the music affected them. And I've heard some funny stories and some tragic stories, some sad stories, some happy stories. It's staggering, really, how, because as a writer, you don't know. You're just expressing yourself. You're just talking about something that you feel strongly about, and you're putting it into a song form. And then when you put it out to the world, you don't have any idea how the world is going to take that, So when people come back to you and they go, I played this particular song for every day for a year because it meant that much to me, and it coincided with this event in my life, and that's an amazing compliment. You know, it's completely amazing, and I don't even know what to say to somebody that tells me that.
Well, I'm just going to tell you right now that the first time I heard your voice was Silent Lucidity, and it sent chills up me. It made the hair stand on my arms, man. And it was just a song that absolutely floored me when I first heard it. And your voice today still does it. So kudos, dude.
Thank you. Hey, you got time for a quick story?
Sure.
So you're talking about how people hear your song and what it means to them and interpretations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the supermarket, and I'm pushing my cart through the supermarket. I'm kind of hunting and gathering for my wife. She sent me this text list of grocery items I'm supposed to pick up, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to the supermarket. I'm looking at all the stuff and trying to find, locations or everything. And the last thing on their list is she wants me to buy some feminine products for her.
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, that's kind of challenging for a man,
Sure.
So here I am. I'm in the feminine products aisle, and the product I need is on the top shelf. So I'm standing on the cart, reaching up to the top shelf, and I hear a voice behind me say, "Mr. Tate?" I look down, and it's a man standing there with kind of a happy look on his face. And I go, "Yeah?" He goes, "Can I talk to you about a song that you wrote that really changed my mind or changed my life?" So I'm standing there with my wife's feminine products in my hand, and as the man tells me what this song that I sang on meant to him, and it was a heart-wrenching, heartwarming story that probably went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, and saying, this song changed my life, and I listened to it every day for a year, and after he was finished, I said, "Man, that was a beautiful song, a beautiful story, but I'm sorry, but I didn't hear which song it was that you were talking about." He goes, "Oh, the best song you ever wrote, Silence in Tennessee."
Silence in Tennessee.
Silence in Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I would be like, thanks. Yeah.
That's exactly what I said. I said, "Thank
wow.
you." And I took that story away.
At least I said it right, folks. Come on.
Yeah. Well, he was close.
Yeah.
You have the silence, silence in there.
That whole video of that, man, is just, I just like everything about it. It's just, if that song cannot grab your attention as a fan of music, then there's something sorely wrong with you, honestly.
Well, we had a wonderful collaboration on that song with Michael Kamen, who is a writer and producer and orchestrator and conductor, and he did beautiful orchestration to that song. Really helped it, become what it was. And that was he'd been working with us off and on over the years on various records. The first time he worked with us was on the Warning album, and then he worked on the Operation Mindcrime album, putting strings and orchestra to some of our music, and he just did fantastic work. In fact, he that song, Silence in Tennessee, Silent City, was so popular that other bands began using Michael to write with. Metallica used him on the Black album as well, and he passed away several years ago. I'm really sad because he was a fantastic talent.
What can fans expect at a show from the mighty Operation Mindcrime when they come to see you guys play live, man?
Well, this year, when we start touring, it's going to be 2018, and we are celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the album, Operation Mindcrime. 30 years since that album came out. So we're going to be performing the album in its entirety. Every song on the record we're going to be doing in order. And then also we're going to be finishing the show with songs from the new album, The New Reality, and then some of the other songs that, from my catalog that I've written over the years.
Yeah, and that actually kicks off in Dublin, Ireland at the Button Factory.
Yep, in January, right?
Yep, in January. And then plus it ends in St. Petersburg, Russia at the Opera House. So that's
then we start up in the States in, I think, April.
I wanted to touch back on this just a little bit with you. I know we were talking about the digital era earlier, but what about like social media for you especially? Has that helped you to get, more fans for Geoff Tate out there possibly? Have you seen an increase maybe?
Yeah, it has actually. It's one of those things that you have to work at almost every day, though, and it becomes very tedious, and time consuming. But it's got to be done. It's the new age that we live in. I try to keep people informed as to what's going on with me and touring and in my life as well. It can be fun. I think you just have to kind of adopt that kind of attitude that you got to think about that thing. Everything is an event that you do.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I try to stay away from posting photographs of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and focus more on the important stuff. But it's fun. It's fun. I have fun with it.
Just had this cheeseburger, like for you to see it.
Yeah, here's another cheeseburger.
Yeah, here's my favorite taco from Taco Bell. What made you?
I gotta watch it because I like I'm a wine drinker,
Yeah.
So I tend to always have these photos of me with a wine glass in my hand. I noticed it a while back. I got to stop doing that so much. It's not like every minute of my life I have a wine glass in my hand, but it seems that way if you look on my social media.
Yep, going to the playroom, wine in my hand. Going to the bathroom, wine in my hand.
Doesn't he ever put that wine glass down?
Yeah, really. Driving down the road, wine in my hand. Jeez. Oh man! So what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you, Geoff? That said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there.
I discovered music when I was 9 years old. I got hit in the head heavy with a band called Jefferson Airplane,
Oh, wow.
and I heard that music, and I wanted to be a musician. I told my parents I want to be a musician. I said, well, you have to learn how to play a musical instrument. Okay, well, what can I do? And they gave me piano lessons. I started playing piano for like 2 years, and then I went and joined the school band when I was old enough, playing trumpet, and then moved to saxophone, and then started playing keyboards in little groups of musicians that I met when I was playing in school band, and we started making our own music, and just kind of started that way, right, until Queensrÿche was signed when I was about 21.
If you could work with any musician, Geoff, that's passed or still alive today, if you could pick one for a couple of days, who would it be? Or somebody you've not worked with yet, who would you like to be?
Oh, there's lots of people I like to work with. It's kind of a connection thing. I found that maybe you meet some. Well, it's not necessarily that you hear somebody's music and say, "Oh, I want to write music like that," because you can do that. It's more like, how do I feel when I get around this person? Do we have a musical connection? Do we have a ability to laugh and communicate and get to that level of creativity where we're throwing out ideas together? And that's the only way you know that is by actually meeting somebody and spending some time with them. And when you do, it's great. It's fantastic, and it works, and it clicks, and it's magic. And very special. And so I don't know. I think that I would love to sit in a room with Roger Waters someday and see if we could write a song together. I'm kind of think we could. I really admire his work. Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd, especially. I'd love to work with the remaining members of Yes. I'd love to work on something with them. One person I don't know if he's known here in the States, but recently I worked with Tobias Sammet, who's with a wonderful band called Avantasia, who's very popular in Europe and in South America, well, everywhere but here. And I worked with him, and I really was an admirer of his music. And out of the blue, he called me up and asked me to write with him. So we got together and wrote a song together, and then I did some shows with them in Europe this last summer. It was fantastic. Had a great time.
As a fan of yours for a very long time, thank you, Geoff, for what you have brought to the table for music and especially your solo stuff. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. And thanks for the interview today. I really, really appreciate that.
Oh, that's not a problem. Folks, Geoff Tate's Operation Mindcrime, third album in the trilogy set, A New Reality, is out December 3rd. You want to pick that up. And plus, Operation Mindcrime is going to be on tour. That kicks off January 18th, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And you want to get out.
Right.
If you're overseas, pay attention to your Facebook pages, things like that for Operation Mindcrime plus Geoff's page. How can folks stay in touch with you, buy some merchandise, tour dates, things like that, Geoff? How can they do that, man?
Well, let me give you my phone number. Yeah, they can contact me through all the social media pages. It's GeoffTate.com, Geoff Tate Facebook, or OperationMindcrime.com, Operation Mindcrime Facebook. I'm everywhere. I'm on Twitter, that kind of thing.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd love to. Hi, this is Geoff Tate of Operation Mindcrime, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Thank you so much, Geoff.
Thanks, John. Talk to you again, man. Take care.